Right, so we are at Oulton Park. We have a garage, which is good because the weather is going to be shocking today. We're all arrived and signed on. Got our little sticker. We're sharing a garage today, so there'll be a Citroen C2 sharing this half. Some other randomers here. Yeah, let's get everything out the car. Right, so it's filling up a bit more. Andy's here with his C2. We've got all our stuff out. It's starting to get a bit blowy. Right, time for some sighting laps. See how the car handles. It's pretty damp underfoot, under the wheel. I've not got my proper microphone on. Yeah, let's see how the car feels now. We're only going to be going 50 or so. Yep, so we'll just let this play out here. One other thing that I changed that I didn't document anywhere is I quickly adjusted the front camber on both wheels to be -2 or roughly -2 on each side, just to help the turn in. Unfortunately, yeah, didn't grab any footage of that, so you'll just have to believe me that I did that, and that made a world of difference to the handling. But as you can see here, sighting laps, you're not going flat out, although I sort of have to go flat out to keep up with everyone else. You can see me getting dropped by the people behind, but yeah, it was quite greasy on the road surface at the start. Very little confidence turning in, partly driver confidence because I have never really driven this track in the wet or the damp. I guess it's more damp than wet here, and also it felt like a completely different car compared to the last time I drove here. Words are hard to describe how different the car felt just with all those suspension changes. As you can see, people have been on the verge at the very edge there previous days, and I will do much the same later on. Chicanes were very slippery. The runoff and the red and white area was super slippery. Even at those low speeds, you could feel the car just sliding out. And again, you can see here how far behind I've dropped, and I wasn't intentionally driving slowly. And it was at this point I started worrying just what I'd let myself in for, whether I was going to be this slow all day compared to everyone else. And I didn't really need to worry. We'll talk about it more later on, but once I got into the mentality of I paid as much as everyone else for this day, so I was going to hold my ground in corners and not be bullied out the way, the day got a lot better, a lot quicker. Everyone's equal on a track day, despite what some people who have spent many thousands think, and we're all there to have fun and go fast around corners. The corner we just went through there, Druids, is always a tricky one. It's sort of a double apex corner, and everyone gets suckered into going for the first apex, and if you do that, being a fast car, you just get spat out on the second one. And the last corner here, probably the trickiest one of the day for me. Never really got the braking point right, and never really carried the speed through well enough. That runoff area on the left there is absolutely lethal. It just held onto the water all day. You go out there, you get track limits, warnings, and it can just throw you off massively. There's a MX-5 that span out. Right, that's the sighting lap's complete. It's cold and greasy, and we are being graced by some much more expensive cars in our garage with us. So we've got two crappy French, not hot, hatchbacks. There's a Porsche GT3 and a Lotus something or other, I don't know. So it's going to be an interesting day. Now I'm not going to do complete solid session footage in this video. This is going to be a highlight of the day. But as you can see here, even though we had a garage, you can't go out down the pit lane at Oulton Park. You have to go back out into the paddock, then back into the staging area, and then you get waved onto the track. So I don't know if this is a specific Oulton Park thing. I have seen at other tracks they just let you go down the pit lane and out, but at least 2 times I've been here with 2 different operators, they hold you here to keep a sensible amount of people on track, which is pretty good. And most of the time I didn't have to wait more than a couple of minutes. Show your armband to the marshal at the end, and away you go. A bit more aggressive than the sighting laps, and into the unknown we go. Rather annoyingly, I didn't remember to put my rear-facing GoPro on for either the sighting lap or this first session, so it's just forward-facing for this. First time into the second chicane as well was a bit sketchy, just finding out how it handled. And you can just about hear that the tyres are already squealing, which I never managed to actually get on my 20-minute taster last time around in September. So and that car there with the supercharger behind was ridiculous. As I mentioned before, struggled with the last corner all day, so this is the first proper flying lap, and you'll watch me completely mess this up. Didn't turn it in enough, went out too wide, onto the slippery bit, a little back end kick out, and got away with it that time. Session went on, we got a bit faster, checking in a bit more tyre squirrel. This guy got a bit disorientated going past me because he messed up his braking and went straight on at the chicane there. You also probably heard briefly there my brakes started to squeal, so they were starting to squeal after about 5 flying laps in a row, but they didn't really seem to go off that much. This MG cut me out constantly. Yeah, you can hear the squealing going on there. And again, slipping out again. We have the first mess up of the day on my part. So I was letting this train of cars come by. First, there was 4 of them. First 2 went by, third one, and then I just looked behind me too much and just drifted off to the right whilst also trying to not get hit by that Clio. Dipped a wheel on the grass and it chucked a load of mud back on the track, which resulted in a red flag, which you'll see in a moment. That's the first session done. As you can see, I dipped a wheel on the grass there, getting out of the way, so now we have some muddy tyres, but no, car handled great. Pretty sure that's quicker than it was doing before. And he's already back. There we go, there's the first one of the day. Let's see what's happened here. Bit smoky. Yeah, it was pouring out there to start with. Right, so after I had a brief chat with the organiser about what had happened, and we all agreed that it was a bit of everyone's fault, we carried on with our day. The track had dried out by this point. I think we're on about 11 AM, so 2 hours in. There was a definite dry line, and I could feel that the car was getting a lot better. You can see I'm already going way faster down the straights and starting to catch up with other cars. Like this MX-5 has 3 or 4 times the power of me, I think. And yeah, on the straights it pulls away from me, but he's having to brake in the corners. I'm not having to brake in the corners. And now we're actually all being held up. I've actually had to back off here, which was a novelty. And now we accelerate and off they go, and I don't think I really catch this BMW in front because a red flag happens. If you don't know, a red flag means you go back into the pits if you're on track. You saw a yellow flag there, which means there's a hazard on track, which is revealed here. Oh, there's another one. Right, we were going great guns there. Unfortunately, that Clio gearbox has left this planet and gone up Clay Hill with oil everywhere. So, we are at Oulton Park. It's going well so far. Third session of the day. Remembered to finally turn the rear camera on, so now we've got front and back vision. Again, it's even drier, getting more confident, and it sort of shows in the lap times as they start to feel like they're going down. I mean, lap timing isn't officially allowed. Invalidates the insurance of the organiser, but that doesn't stop people using data logging like myself and then looking at the times later, as long as you're not on track chasing times with a big counter, it's all good. That's the third one done. That was quicker again, but cut short by a red flag. Definitely getting braver. Chucking it in a lot harder into the corners, not braking anywhere near as much. Pretty much only brake for the hairpins and the chicanes. And pretty much flat on the rest. Getting into fourth, a lot more on the straight. So yeah, nearly lunchtime, so we'll have a bit of a break in a second. But that red flag was caused by that Civic down there. There's a very big hose hanging off of it that's being punched when they spit out. lunch is over, time to do some more. So you can see here, really chuck it into that first corner now. Light smattering of rain with the wipers on. Quite a funny moment here with BMW. He came out slowly out of the pits, indicating for me to go past, but I knew as soon as I went past, as soon as he put his foot down, he'd be gone. So we just had this awkward standoff moment. Again, not braking going into the second corner, carrying a lot of speed through here, and now he disappears down the straights. Trying not to go in the mud again. It's very hard on that bit when you're getting out of the way. But yeah, getting these lines sorted. This is quite an interesting section here, again showing the speed I can carry through the corners, and all these cars ahead of me have at least 3 times the power, if not some of them probably 10 times the power in those M3s. And they don't really gap me in those corners until you get to a straight, and then now you see them disappear off the hill, but we sort of maintained our gap going through the slow bits, which is the only chance the Twingo has really on days like this. And here's a yellow flag coming up, so what's happened here? I know Druids is coming, so I suspect someone's in the gravel, and correctly guessed. Well, that was our afterlife session. As you can see, the rain has started. Oh, my hands are shaking. Yeah, so it's raining. I was getting a little sketchy on the last bit there. As you can see, I think next door went into the gravel trap. So we'll see what happens now. Tyre update. They're holding up, but they are taking a battering. Certainly the outers are getting rolled. Yeah, they're getting warm. So a quick check of the tyres and brake pads. I thought they were a bit low, but I was looking at this, not the actual brake pad down there. Absolutely tons, which is good. So the brakes are doing well, brake ducts doing their job. I only have to brake 3 times on lap, so it's all good. This is a fun section of video here. So this is my first actual proper chase of someone on a track day. I have the least power by far, so it's always good when the planets align and you come out with someone else with low power or low belief in their speed at the time. I'll take either. So we've got quite an old Honda Civic in front of us here, and I spend pretty much half a lap getting in a position where I feel like I can put enough together to get past them. So into the first straight, pretty much even. No idea what power this car has, but it's not enough to get away from me. Braking for that corner, I'm not braking, so I'm going to narrow the gap here a little, and I will probably be braking later. Yeah, I'm not braking to about here. Close up right in the hairpin, getting out of the way of the car behind. He very nearly does the same as I did earlier and put the wheel on the grass there. Don't have the power to get past going into the first chicane. And now it's drop it down to second, just foot on the floor, and let's go for the actual first overtake on a full track day and take my time getting past. Give them a little thumbs up. And I thought at this point, well, they're just going to come back for me, so I'm just going to go flat out down here. And they've disappeared off in the rear view. Hit that first curve way too hard, but it's fine. Squeal through there. And away we go. And this is actually probably my biggest moment of the day. It just started raining, so things are starting to get a little slippery again. Full send into the first corner, no braking, run out wide, snap, catch it, and away we go. So this session was where I set my fastest lap, so I'm just going to throw up the GPS data on this lap and you'll see it tick around. Not really going to comment on this one too much. I'm going to save that for a future video where I'm going to go in depth a lot more on some of the laps and do a lot of side-by-side comparisons of various laps over the day. Maybe try and figure out what my quickest lap was. Yeah, I'll just let this play out, so you'll see 2.5 minutes of me going full attack. Changing. He's getting ready to run away. Lots of cars have already gone. Yeah, it's emptied out quite a lot. This is an awesome Lotus. When it comes flying around you on track, it's a sight. And here's his in the Porsche. These little beasties as well. Look at this thing. It's tiny. Everyone's going away because here comes the rain. It's raining. Pretty much everyone thought I was mad at this point, but I thought I've paid for the day. I've never driven in the wet. My tyres aren't semi-slicks, they're sort of sporty road tyres, so let's give it a bash and figure out how this car drives in a track in the rain. And it sort of felt okay, to be honest. Obviously there's less grip and it slipped a bit more, but I did the first few laps at about 10 miles an hour less and then slowly built up. But what did start happening, and I'll stop talking and turn the volume up in a minute, is a very strange noise appeared. quite sure what this noise was. It changes with the speed of the car. So my initial gut reaction was maybe one of the cable ties on my brake ducts had come off and was getting trapped in the wheel. So at the end of the lap, I just pulled into the pits. I was amazed this GTR was still flying around at this point. It was pretty slippery, but the noise was not going away, and it gets pretty loud when you go over 60. So I gently nursed it back to the pits, pulled in, had a good check around everywhere, couldn't see anything, there was nothing hanging underneath, all the wheels were clear, all the cable ties were where they should have been. So I just decided we'll go back out and see what happens. Alright, we'll give it another go. We did a few more laps, and down one of the straights there was an almighty bang, and the noise stopped. So what I think it was some rubber pickup on one of the tyres, with sticky bits of rubber that they just left on the racetrack. I think it just stuck to the tyre, and as the car got faster and faster, it sort of flailed itself around, and then at a certain point it just wore off, went off into the wheel arch, and we were good for the rest of the time. As you can see here, getting more confident in the wet. By the end of it, I was only really going 5 to 10 miles an hour slower than I was in the dry, which was pretty good going. Again, just getting that seat time, got more and more confident. I absolutely couldn't throw into these last few corners, they were just ice rinks, and the first one as well, so I was having to brake for those. But it was a real driving experience, and unfortunately the GoPro ran out of both battery and storage space, so I had to nab the rear facing one and slap it on the dashboard mount. So the last few laps of the day from this angle. And what was really interesting is pretty much everyone had gone home by this point, so for a good solid half an hour, 40 minutes, I had the entire track to myself, which allowed me to go around and set a decent time in retrospect. Again, this is all pulled off the day logs after the red tire overlaid. The sun is horrendous, you were turning into the first few corners almost blind. Now I'm going to display on the dry ones, so you can just watch it. decided I'd call it quits when I made a big mistake, and about 4 o'clock this happened. Not the world's largest mistake for sure, but for whatever reason at that point, just the brakes finally decided they had had enough. Smashed on them pretty hard. Nice rainbow here. Tried to turn in, car was just not having any of it. So at that point, I thought, nope, that's my day done. I've had a great day. Let's not push it any further and put it in the barriers at the end of the day. I could see I was the only car going around by myself. Thought the marshals probably prefer to be going home at this point rather than being out there just for me. Had my fun. Pulled into the pits, and yeah, end of the day's track action for me. You can see here actually the track day organizer was walking down the pit lane checking everyone's status.
How is it? Good.
Well, that's me done for the day. I was the only person out on track for that last half an hour, so the car had a good old session. Not only was I the last person out on track, pretty much the last person here. There's 3 of us left. And here comes the proper rain, so let's call it quits, pack up, pack all that stuff up, get home. It's been a great day. Oh, timed that well. Video doesn't do this justice. It's horrible.
What an experience that was. As I said, it sounds like the windows and doors, that's because they are. Don't know what that vibrating noise is. Oh, it's the brake discs vibrating on the floor. Right, time to go home. What a quality day. Literally the last car standing. Missed the horrendous rain shower at the end. And yeah, learned a lot about the car, how it handles. We did 197.8 miles on track today, which was pretty much an entire tank of fuel. So that was good. Could have done more running, but I wanted to sort of take it steady. Yeah, super excited to see what we do next with the car, because do we get some better tyres on this, get some proper suspension setup, and come back and do some more tracks? Do we do another track as it is, or do we swap the engine? Because it's sort of handled fine. It's washing out a little under the in the corners, but maybe tyres will solve that, and we'll need better tyres if we swap the engine and put a bigger engine in anyway. So lots to think about. Why don't you leave a comment below and let me know what you think we should do. Until next time.